welcome to the show. Once again, we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energise and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
On the show tonight, rock legend turned internet marketer John Ojarka talks openly on making music, making money, and making it happen. Fitness instructor Susana Lopez reveals a fascinating mix of exercise disciplines for your mind and your body. And executive director of anti-violence charity Shine talks about having courage in life and in business. Next up, Jane Drumm on what it takes to grow a charity. Jane, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Cath, for inviting me.
Now, you are the executive director of Shine. Tell me a bit about the work of that charity.
Well, our objective is to keep victims of domestic abuse safer in their own homes. So our name is actually Safer Homes in New Zealand Every Day.
And tell me a bit about how you got into working with Shine.
Well, it was a long time ago. I'm in my 18th year now. I used to be a probation officer. I was a probation officer for about 13 years. Yeah. And I'd been on the management committee of this organisation, and there was a vacancy. In fact, I actually was the fourth manager in about a year.
Oh, stressful job. That's a sign.
Yeah.
You don't want that job.
Yeah. And I thought, I'll go there, and I'm interested, and I knew something about it. And I thought, well, I'll go there for a couple of years and do something, and then I've got manager, my CV. But I actually, after I got through quite a hard start, I actually found I really liked it. Right. I really loved it, in fact. I felt quite passionate about it.
So it must be, as you say, you mentioned having a hard start. It must be quite a difficult environment to work in.
It was exceptionally tough.
Yeah.
I'd never managed anybody before. I'd managed people on probation, and they didn't have any... They didn't have any say about coming to see me, but it was really different managing staff. But we moved through that, changes of staff, new directions, and it just grew from there. I think I'm quite an opportunistic sort of person, and I had a real strong vision for where we might get.
Yeah, and tell me a bit about that vision.
Well, I really believe that when people's lives are at stake, which is basically the work that we're involved in, we have to be the best we can be, and good enough is not good enough. Yeah. And so I looked at what we were doing, which was a pretty little range of services, and it just wasn't significant. It wasn't making any kind of blip on the horizon at all. And here we were, based in Auckland, New Zealand's biggest city. So I started to think about how we could build and expand out. Yeah. One of the first things I added was a stopping violence program for people who perpetrated that violence. And way back 18 years ago, that was really radical, because we were focused on working with victims. But I just thought it's ridiculous, particularly having come from probation. It's ridiculous not working with the people who do the hurting as well.
So in real terms, what kind of work are you doing with them? How are you helping them to not be violent anymore?
We run a stopping violence program, which is 20 weeks, and we really help people understand the thinking that goes into the kind of behaviour that leads to the sort of actions that they take, which are really wrong. The bad thinking they've got, which is basically about feeling justified to hurt somebody else to get their own way.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And what is the scale of the problem in New Zealand?
It's huge in this country. We live in this really beautiful country, and probably the police would get advised about 100,000 cases a year.
100,000 cases a year?
Yeah, that's about one every 6 minutes that the police are out there looking at. One woman in three experiences a sexual or physical violence in her lifetime. It's really, really high.
1 in 3?
Yeah, in New Zealand.
Do you know, when you put the numbers in those terms, you say 1 in 3, you start
Yeah.
looking around and say,
Yeah.
well, I can see 3 women, you know. You know, it's not like saying, well, 1 in 2,000 or something, which is quite hard to imagine.
Yeah.
So what you're saying really is that we probably all know somebody.
Everyone in New Zealand knows not just one somebody, they know heaps of somebodies.
Wow. And I guess that must mean that the problem is largely hidden.
It is. The police think that they only get about 20% of what's going on reported to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the number you gave, so 100,000,
Yeah.
is only 20% of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is really massive. So that's what I'm saying. We have to be as good as we possibly can be. Our resources are really tiny. It's really, really tight. And so I feel really strongly that we just have to keep learning and working out new ways of doing things much more effectively, because I believe that people deserve to be able to remain safely living in their home, because I think, why should the person who's done nothing wrong have to leave?
Yeah.
And so while we do run some refuges, I really want to commit most of our resources to actually keeping people safe there in their homes. And we work with lots of other organisations up at the hospital, with the police, Child Death and Family, lots of organisations just to do that.
Yeah. And I know your passion is about developing the organisation, but actually you personally have achieved an enormous amount over the last 18 years.
Oh, thank you.
Now,
Yeah.
don't be coy, don't be coy. Tell us a bit about, I mean, it has grown literally from a handful of people, hasn't it?
Yes, that's right. So when I first started there, we had a budget of 180,000, and it's grown to an organisation of 3 million a year. So it's taken a huge amount of personal commitment from me and just dogged perseverance.
Yeah.
I think the key thing, though, is that there's a great staff that work with me, and so it's not a solo voyage. I'm not like, you know, the Lone Ranger or anything.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm really proud about is that we've created an organisation that's really high achieving, and it attracts fantastic staff, just wonderful, really smart people, and that's really, this is the secret to my success. I get to get all the glory, but actually it's the amazing people that I work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's heaps of little kind of clues about what makes up success. So give me your top 3 real quick.
Perseverance,
Yep.
stickability,
Yep.
and being curious.
I like it.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for sharing those tips with us today.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you.